Hello, today I'll be sharing my contemporary Indigenous art presentation. Snotty Nosed Red Kids are a hip hop duo made of Darren Young D. Metz and Quinton Young Tribe's niece, whose music is mainly driven by the experiences they encountered growing up on the reserve. The two grew up on a Haisla First Nation reservation in northwest BC in a village called Kitimat Village. Their most recent album, Trapline, is about identity and land. Quinton Nice says, because when you talk about First Nations, you can't talk about one without the other, referring to identity and land. Potential meaning of lyrics. The tone of this section is almost authoritative or serious, and this is due to the passion and power in the lyrics and connection to tradition and culture, which is very important to Indigenous people. The lyrics, however, could mean the special connection between their soul and their music. As we've learned throughout the course, Indigenous people are very proud of their music. Their stories are told as songs, and music in general is a big part of their tradition. The mood of this section can be seen as smartful and playful, mainly due to the play of words in this section. This line is very interesting to say the least, mainly because of how the sentence is structured. Real eyes could mean the people who are educated or people with a sense of knowledge. Realize real lies could mean that the people said before are now realizing that indigenous people have been mistreated by not only citizens but the government as well for many, many years. The tone of this section could be interpreted as informative or formal because of how the last two lines tie in with modern colonization. Going deeper, the first two lines also go hand in hand in the way that the second line is a reference to a part in the movie Smoke Signals, where two indigenous men are traveling via a bus, and the other two white men took their seats. The two indigenous men opted to then go sit at the back of the bus, where they proceeded to sing a song called John Wayne's Teeth, referencing the racism that indigenous people face even in scenarios where you might not expect. The next two lines are more about colonization. The first line states a racist person who's suggesting that the snotty-nosed res kids should go back where they came from, the reservation. Where they then say that you should go back where you came from, hinting that my people were here before your people. So I'm already on my home and native land, and you should go back to your home. Basically making sure that there aren't any double standards. Throughout the music video, we can see or hear a few examples where the snotty-nosed West kids had addressed post-colonial concerns. One example was right here in the last section of lyrics I discussed, more specifically when he says, how is this a post-colonial concern, you ask? Well, as we know, colonization refers to when the Europeans had discovered North America and had started to make it their own, even though many different indigenous people had already been using and inhabiting the land. In the lyric, we see that he encounters a discussion where he is told to go back to his land, despite him already being on the land he and his ancestors grew up on, and in return, he says the same thing back, informing the European and telling him that this was my ancestors' land far before your ancestors had stolen it from us. There are many occasions where snotty-nosed West kids talk about resisting stereotypes and inaccuracies to ensure that there is a detailed description of who and what indigenous people are. For instance, there is a line that goes, which is a big area of concern because of how racist and discriminatory that term is. Referring to someone like an animal to make them less humane, just to make yourself feel more superior, is so wrong. Another example is this section. This section showcases the struggles and day-to-day issues indigenous people face. All these years, indigenous people have done nothing to deserve this pain and injustice that they face even today. They've been asking for better laws and better rights and to stop the assimilation that the government is attempting. To know that the same issues and struggles an indigenous person today encounters, their ancestors from 500 and even more years ago also had the same issues and injustices, is mind-blowing. Many people around the world view Canada as a super friendly and nice country where discrimination is not a thing, and and that everyone lives happily. to finally realizing that Canada is no different than any other racist country might throw you off a bit. Lawrence Paul is a Okanagan artist and activist who's been creating art for many decades about Northwest Coast imagery, colonialism, racism against indigenous people, and many different environmental destructions. Lawrence Paul has created many beautiful pieces of art, and the one that stood out to me the most was Creeps, their environmental terrorist, and mainly due to what I had interpreted the main message of the artwork to be. I believe that there could be an interpretation that this artwork could be about how colonizers mistreat Turtle Island as an item and don't give any respect to the land and its resources. First off, let's start by talking about the creature-like figures in the art piece. The person on the left is holding a gas pump nozzle, which could be a reference to the overuse of fossil fuels and how bad that is for the environment, more specifically the air and and the atmosphere, and also the various aquatic life that exists in oceans and other bodies of water. The person on the right has a pipe-shaped head that is dispensing oil from its mouth. This could be an indication of the mass amount of polluting substances that are being dumped into bodies of water daily. In addition, the person is wearing a black and white striped suit, which could be a connection to striped prison uniforms, which would indicate that these people are criminal or criminal minded. Also, the pipe-shaped figure looks to have a skinny mustache, waxed and shaped into circules, which I think is linked to the Paris Agreement about climate change and pollution. The post-colonial concern that I see present in this artwork is how colonizers took the land of indigenous people to make it their own, just to then abuse the land and its resources. We can see that the main topic of this artwork is about oil and pollution, and how colonizers have been and are the front foot of pollution, who then don't own up and take responsibilities for these actions because the use of fossil fuel is a great source of income for these big companies like Shell, which we see in the left figure's tie. How do the song and artwork I chose connect? Well, the main message of the two is to spread awareness or showcase what colonizers are doing to indigenous people in today's world. The song, Creator Made an Animal, is based on the stereotypes of indigenous people that are spread by the media and shows what it actually means to be indigenous and how colonization has affected the mindset of non-indigenous people to create assumptions about indigenous people. To add to that, the message of the artwork is to showcase that colonizers are using the media to downgrade indigenous people to animals while colonizers continue to abuse and overuse the resources of Turtle Island and that they are the real antagonists. This concludes my presentation about the song Creator Made an Animal by the Snotty Nose Res Kids and the art piece Creeps, Their Environmental Terrorists by Lawrence Paul. I hope that you've learned something new or have deepened your understanding of indigenous people and their amazing pieces of art. Thank you for watching.